In the year 1769, on a quiet Mediterranean island called Corsica, a child was born into a world already filled with conflict, ambition, and rising empires. His name was Napoleon Bonaparte. He was not born into greatness, nor into wealth, nor power. His family was modest, his future uncertain. But from the very beginning, there was something different in his presence. Something silent, yet powerful. A calm intensity, as if he was watching the world, not as it was, but as it could be. As a small child, Napoleon wandered through narrow stone streets, his footsteps echoing against ancient walls. He watched everything. Soldiers marching, officers giving commands, men speaking of war and honor. He listened, carefully, absorbing every detail. While others saw noise, he saw patterns. While others saw chaos, he saw opportunity. And deep inside him, something began to grow. Not fear, not doubt, but purpose. While other children played in the fields, laughing without concern for the future, Napoleon chose a different path. He studied maps, books, history. He spent long nights under dim candlelight, his eyes scanning every line, his mind building worlds from ink and paper. He learned how empires rise, how leaders think, and how power is taken, not given. Even at a young age, he was already thinking beyond his surroundings, beyond his island, beyond his time. But his journey was far from easy. At a young age, he was sent away from home to study in France, a foreign land, a different language, a different world. There, he was not admired. He was different, an outsider, alone. The other students mocked his accent, his background, his silence. But Napoleon did not fight them. He did not argue. He did something far more dangerous. He endured, silently, patiently, while sharpening his mind and strengthening his will. In the cold courtyards of the academy, while laughter echoed among groups of students, Napoleon stood apart, watching, learning, becoming, because in that isolation, he was building something far greater than friendship, discipline, focus, and an unbreakable vision. At night, while the world around him slept, Napoleon remained awake, a single candle lighting the darkness. Maps spread before him, ink staining his fingers. He studied movement, strategy, power, every battle ever fought, every mistake made by great generals. He memorized them, analyzed them, and improved upon them. Inside his mind, he was already fighting wars, already winning them. By the time he became a young officer, he was no longer just a student. He was ready to prove himself, not with words, but with action. The world that once ignored him would soon be forced to see him. Then came the chaos, the French Revolution. The streets burned with anger, crowds demanded change, and power shifted violently. Kings fell, authority collapsed, and uncertainty ruled everything. But where others saw danger, Napoleon saw something else. Opportunity. He stepped forward, calm, calculated, and completely fearless. At the siege of Toulon, he took control of artillery, positioning cannons with precision, anticipating every movement of the enemy, thinking faster, acting sharper than anyone around him. The battle turned. Victory was achieved. And for the first time, the world began to notice his name. Victory brought recognition. Recognition brought power. And power opened doors that had once been closed. Napoleon rose quickly, from office to general, from unknown to unstoppable. His confidence grew, but so did something deeper. ambition. Because deep inside, Napoleon was not chasing victory alone. He was not satisfied with small success. He was not interested in being remembered as just another general. He was chasing something far greater, something that only a few men in history ever dared to pursue. Not land, not wealth, but immortality. A legacy that would outlive him and echo through history forever. At the height of his power, Napoleon Bonaparte stood above all of Europe, an emperor, a ruler, a name feared across continents, from the mountains of Austria to the plains of Italy to the heart of France. His presence was undeniable. Armies moved at his command, nations bent under his will. But even at the top, even at the peak of glory, his ambition did not rest, because power, once tasted, does not satisfy. It consumes. Battle after battle, victory after victory. His legend grew beyond imagination. Soldiers followed him not out of fear, but belief. They believed in his vision, in his leadership, in his destiny. But every battlefield he conquered left behind silence, bodies, and echoes of war. And slowly, the cost of greatness began to rise. And came his greatest gamble, the invasion of Russia, a land unlike any he had faced before. Endless, frozen, unforgiving. Napoleon marched forward with confidence, his army vast, his strategy sharp, believing once again that nothing could stop him. But this time, he was not facing men. He was facing nature itself. Winter arrived, not as a season, but as a force. The cold cut through armor. Snow swallowed entire battalions. Food vanished. Strength faded. And hope slowly disappeared. The ground beneath them turned into ice, and the sky above offered no mercy. What once was an army of power became a line of survival. Men collapsed without battle. Horses fell into the snow, and the silence of death followed every step. Napoleon, the conqueror of nations, was now leading a retreat. When he returned, he was no longer unstoppable. His enemies saw it, they felt it, and they acted. Across Europe, coalitions formed, kingdoms united, not to conquer, but to destroy him. For the first time, Napoleon faced something unfamiliar. Defeat. Not in a single moment, but slowly, inevitably, like a shadow closing in. He was forced to surrender, to abandon everything he built. His crown, his throne, his empire, gone. Exiled to the island of Elba, far from the world he once controlled, Napoleon stood alone. No armies, no commands, only silence and reflection. But inside him, the fire had not died. He escaped, returned to France, and in a moment that shocked the world, his people followed him again. For a brief time, the emperor had returned. Hope rose once more. Then came the final battle. Waterloo. The sky was heavy, the ground soaked with rain, and the air filled with tension. Napoleon stood once again before his army. But this time, fate was not on his side. A single delay, a single miscalculation was enough. The battle turned, and history changed forever. His army collapsed, his final chance destroyed. This time, there would be no return. He was exiled again to St. Helena, a remote island lost in the vast ocean, far from power, far from history, far from everything he once was. There, no war, no victory, only time and memory. The man who once ruled Europe now walked alone, thinking, remembering, reliving every moment, every choice, every victory, and every mistake, until one quiet day, in the year 1821, Napoleon Bonaparte, the emperor, the conqueror, the legend, closed his eyes for the final time. But death does not erase greatness, because men like Napoleon do not disappear. They remain in books, in stories, in the minds of those who remember, and in the echoes of history forever.